I do not think you understand how early you are to Bitcoin. I think the number one problem you have is that you are not bullish enough on Bitcoin. If you were more bullish on Bitcoin, you would take your security more seriously, you would upgrade your Bitcoin stack, and you'd be buying more Bitcoin if you were properly bullish enough, right? We're in a bubble. And it's nice to be in the bubble. The bubble is nice, it is warm, it is orange, it is comfortable. But get outside the bubble and actually take an objective look of how early you are to Bitcoin. And it will be exciting, slightly terrifying, but mostly exciting. I don't think you understand how early we are to Bitcoin. There are 54,000 public companies in the world. There are 400 million companies in the world. Okay, a very small number of the 400 million companies in the world are public, 54,000 of them. Give or take a few hundred or a few thousand, depending on what source you go by, right? But the point is, there are 1 out of 337 public companies in the world that have been buying Bitcoin, and the majority of them are dabbling. At the time of recording, the number of Bitcoin you need to be in the top 100 of the Bitcoin companies in the world is like 25 Bitcoin. Now, 25 Bitcoin's a lot of money, I know, and I know that most people would happily take 25 Bitcoin for free, right? But to be in the top 100 of the 400 million companies in the world, or more accurately said, to be in the top 100 of the 54,000 public companies in the world with only, a few dozen Bitcoin, that's how early you are to Bitcoin. That 1 out of 337 of the public companies are buying Bitcoin at all. And most of the companies buying Bitcoin at all that are publicly traded are buying a handful of them. A very, very, very tiny, teeny, weeny percentage of their balance sheet, right? In my opinion, if by 2030, there are 1,000 or so companies buying Bitcoin in size with conviction for the long term, I would call that a major win, right? This is going to last a very long time. You are not too late to Bitcoin. Sure, Bitcoin could rocket up to $1 million tomorrow. It could go to $10 million next year. That is possible. Why? Because political currency is a Ponzi scheme funded by a state-sponsored monopoly on violence, and it will eventually hyperinflate. However, barring that, in World War III, we're probably not going to get $10 million Bitcoin next year, which is great because that means you can buy it for cheap before it hits $10 million a coin. It took like almost 5 years for Michael Saylor with his company MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy, to have one other company buying Bitcoin in size, right? Metaplanet and Similar Scientific obviously followed suit, right? Obviously, there are other companies like Tesla, like Coinbase, right? Other companies that are buying, right? But the number of companies buying in size globally is tiny, 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 super duper small, right? That is how early you are to Bitcoin. 5 years from now, we could maybe be looking at 1 out of 50, 1 out of 40 public companies having a non-zero Bitcoin exposure. And I think that would be a major win. That would be basically a 10x from where we are today. We've gone from one public company, or really let's say 3 or 4, if you're including Coinbase and all the others that weren't as serious, right? We've gone from like 5 to like 150 over the last 5 years. That's a great milestone, right? That's like a 30x. If we could 10x from here over the next 5 years, that's some diminishing returns, and I think that is a great goal. 1,000 companies by 2030 buying Bitcoin in size, that's awesome. But even then, you're not too late to Bitcoin because there's another 53,000 public companies of the 400 million companies in the world that are yet to start buying Bitcoin. That's how early you are to Bitcoin. This is going to last a very long while. Now, if you're somebody that wants to acquire a Bitcoin play or Bitcoin proxy or Bitcoin, increase strategy, like if you're somebody that wants to have a discussion about increasing your Bitcoin exposure, I'm more than happy to help. There are all kinds of ways to increase your Bitcoin exposure. One of the ways that I'm using and that a lot of my clients are using right now is a Bitcoin denominated loan, right? There are all kinds of loan products out there. Bitcoin mortgages, Bitcoin HELOCs, Bitcoin treasury loans, which is what I'm talking about here, right? Margin call loans, fiat loans, all kinds of loans out there, different products. And guess what? In the same way that the majority of the companies yet to adopt Bitcoin are in front of us, not behind us, right? We have less in common with the near future than the past. The majority of Michael Saylors are in front of us, not behind us. The majorities of Similar Scientifics and Metaplanets are in front of us, not behind us. The majority of that opportunity is in front of us, not behind us. In the same way, the majority of Bitcoin loan opportunities are in front of you, not behind you. It's taken years to get to half a dozen or so different loan opportunities you can pursue, right? 5 years from now, there will be 100. 10 years from now, there will be thousands. And your new biggest problem is going to transition from I don't have enough products serving my needs to now I have an overabundance of products trying to serve my needs, all competing, and they're all giving me conflicting information. How do I choose which one to use? This is why I'm a huge fan of the work that I do as a tech agnostic Bitcoin advisor and supporter for my clients, right? I don't care what product they use. I don't care what company they use. My goal is to help them figure out what is the best product for them. I'm more so of a driving instructor than a car salesman. There's nothing wrong with a car salesman, but instead of telling people you should use this brand of car, this brand, I'd rather just help people understand the trade-offs of all of the brands. So if you're somebody that thinks that a Bitcoin treasury loan is a brand that could be of use to you, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. What are the basics of that kind of product? It is a 5% interest loan, 95% lend, 1-year term. However, that could be extended up to 5 years depending on your circumstance, and it's very likely that can happen. These products are available globally, not only for American citizens. That's really important, especially for my friends watching internationally. 0 origination fees, 0 monthly payments, 0 credit score checks, 0 counterparty risk, 0 reapplication risk, 0 recourse loan, and full custody. If you want to apply and have a conversation about how you can apply and help figure out if this kind of product is best for you, feel free to reach out. The information is in the description or on the screen or wherever, right? Just consider doing that. Why should you consider doing that? It's because you are not too late. There is plenty of upside ahead. Your number one cost is not an interest rate. Your number one cost is not paying a fee. Your number one cost is not anything you're tangibly paying. Your number one cost in Bitcoin, no matter if you have a 1/10 of a Bitcoin or 100 Bitcoin, your number one cost right now is opportunity cost. Your number one cost is not taxes. Your number one cost is not the risk of the Bitcoin network going down, right? Your number one cost always is opportunity cost. People are so scared of tax questions. People are so scared of using products. People are so scared of paying fees because they have a zero-sum mindset. My friend, your biggest worry should not be the taxes. Your biggest worry should not be the fees. Because if you don't optimize and maximize the opportunity cost, you're not going to have any profits to pay fees or taxes from, right? Opportunity cost is your number one cost. And so maximize the opportunity cost. I am not telling you to buy a Bitcoin company. I'm not doing that, right? The thing here to understand is that all these companies are competing for Bitcoin. And even if you never want to buy a Bitcoin company or Bitcoin treasury company or invest in the future with Bitcoin, that's totally fine, right? There'll be lots of opportunities, right? Right now with Bitcoin store of value companies eventually turning into Bitcoin medium of exchange companies, right? There'll be lots of those opportunities, but you don't have to do that. Because guess what? There are going to be 400 million companies in the future competing for your Bitcoin. There will be hundreds of millions of companies, not people, companies, collections of people willing to buy your Bitcoin because your Bitcoin is fungible with everybody else's. And all the Michael Saylors of the world are going to be printing all kinds of shares and all kinds of dilution. All the political jurisdictions of the world will be printing all kinds of political currency trying to get your Bitcoin. You are not too late. You are so early. In fact, I don't think you understand how early you are to Bitcoin. 5 years from now, there will not be hyper-Bitcoinization. 5 years from now, I think we'll be lucky to have a few percent of the tiny segment of public companies, right? The majority of companies are private, not public. And the majority of public companies 5 years from now, they won't be buying Bitcoin. And the majority of the ones that are buying Bitcoin, they will not be buying Bitcoin in size. So congratulations, you're early. And thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sharing with others. And ultimately, if you take nothing away from this video, you should be even more bullish than your current perception. The cost, the trade-off is that you're probably going to have to wait longer than what you'd expect. You might have to wait years to get the kinds of results you're hoping for. But guess what? By the time you get there, you're probably going to be looking at way higher price points for Bitcoin than any of us expect. I think Bitcoin's going way above $100 million a coin, but it's probably going to take extra decades than what we all like to admit. So thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to reach out if you have any interest in a Bitcoin treasury loan, if you want to have a conversation, even without this product specifically, just in general, about how to increase your Bitcoin stack and optimize for the opportunity cost. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. Thank you.